There weren't many words on the scroll, and Qin Mu gave the writing a quick once-over. Instantly, various types of cultivation logic regarding the soul appeared in his mind. Dutian Devil King had told him that there were spells of Yudu on the scroll, but it showed up that was just another lie to entice him. At least there is still 1 sentence out of 10 I say that is true. Since in Dutian Devil King's speech, only 1 sentence among 100 of them is true, Qin Mu thought to himself. Out of all the things he said to me, only the language of Yudu was true, everything else was a lie. He analyzed the scroll in detail. If he comprehended the entire marvel of the writings there, he could indeed comprehend some spells regarding souls. However, the most important use of this scroll was to strengthen the soul, while the soul spell was only secondary. Qin Mu memorized the writings on the scroll and closed it to meditate. He tried to figure out the marvel of the writings, trying to comprehend a kind of soul spell. Great educational heavenly devil scriptures had spells related to soul, and Barbarian D Empire also had these kinds of spells. The Thunderclap 8 strikes that old Ma had taught him, as well as the Great Freedom Madra of the Devil Race, were also spells that were targeted at souls. Soul Guide of 9 Spectre Sect was an even more outstanding divine art. If he could compare the runes of the words, he could increase his power. Qin Mu thought for a long time before slowly walking into his courtyard. With every action and step, he incorporated the words of Yudu into the move Sunshine Refining Young Soul in the Sky. This was one of the moves of Thunderclap 8 strikes, the greatest battle technique in Rolai's Mahayana Sutra. Its power was strong and fierce since it had been improved by the previous generations of Rolai to its extreme, to the point it couldn't be improved anymore. Yet now, Qin Mu was improving this move. He had never cultivated Rolai's Mahayana Sutra, but ever since great educational heavenly devil scriptures had fused with Overlord Body 3 elixir technique and unified all skills, the power of Thunderclap 8 strikes had become stronger and stronger, being no weaker than of those who cultivated Rolai's Mahayana Sutra. He practiced move after move, one punch after another. With the fist as Heart Madra and the Heart Madra as the sun, every punch gave off the sound of rolling thunder and the intensity of the blazing sun. As the Yang Soul was refined, the power was gradually raised. The move Sunshine Refining Yang Soul in the Sky had not much use against the corporeal body. Even if it looked powerful, it was only targeted at the soul. Qin Mu practiced this move over and over again, and a trace of fire was gradually forced out from the fist Madra. This flame was different from ordinary flames. It was the karma fire that burns the soul. Every punch of his brought along karma fire, and gradually, the karma fire became more and more intense, turning the surroundings of the fist into a blazing scarlet-red sun. The more he punched, the more used to it he got, which left him unable to resist howling endlessly. Suddenly, a huge sun exploded out in the sky, and flames surged forth in all directions, covering the entire courtyard in karma fire. Qin Mu retracted his stance back and let out a shallow breath. Suddenly, his heart wavered and he opened his door to see Sword Hall Master walking over with quick steps. Qin Mu invited him in and asked, "Sword Hall, what's the rush? Heavenly King Lu is injured." Sword Hall said in a low voice, his expression solemn. "He's at my place now and wants to meet Cult Master. His condition is very bad." Qin Mu's heart leaped out, and he hurried out of his courtyard with Sword Hall. "Cult Master, I'm embarrassed to meet you with these injuries since I can't greet you due to their severity," Heavenly King Lu said with embarrassment as he lay on the bed and struggled to get up yet was unable to. Qin Mu shook his head and went forward to check on his injuries, frowning slightly. The man's clothes were tattered, and there were even bloodstains on his white hair and beard. Heavenly King Lu's injuries were even worse than those of Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. He must have been injured by fighting with a few strong practitioners of the Cult Master level. His injuries were not only on the physical body, but even his divine treasures were injured. The damage to his soul was also extremely serious. All of his 7 great divine treasures had suffered devastating blows. His spirit embryo was petrified, 3 of his 5 element gods were destroyed, only 2 pillars of his 6 directions divine treasure were left, while his 7 stars divine treasure, celestial being divine treasure, life and death realm were crushed in their entirety. The only flying bridge in his divine bridge realm was also broken. It would have been fine if it was only these injuries, but the crucial point was that he was already old, and his body was no longer like it was in the past. It was difficult for his physical body to hold together his soul, which was about to crumble. Heavenly King Lu took in a deep breath and said, "Cult Master, I've located Heavenly King Qian's whereabouts." Stop talking first. Qin Mu took out 2 bottles of dragon's saliva to heal the injuries on his body. He then let him drink another bottle and muttered to himself irresolutely while writing down the names of herbs, telling Sword Hall Master to grab them from the warehouse. As for whether those herbs could heal Heavenly King Lu, he had no certainty. The best result would be him surviving but becoming useless, while the worst result. Sword Hall Master left in a hurry. The injuries on Heavenly King Lu's body got better, but those on his soul and divine treasures became even more serious as he panted. Heavenly King Qian has already died. I followed his trail, but someone used his clothes to bring me on a wild goose chase that led into an ambush. Qin Mu frowned. Who ambushed you? They didn't reveal their faces, but I recognized their divine arts. Heavenly King Lu's body contorted. This was due to the injuries bursting forth in his soul and causing him pain. Heavenly King Lu gritted his teeth and endured it. His white hair shook along with his body as he chuckled. They did it for the art of teleportation of our sacred cult master. I can't assist you anymore. I'm ashamed for failing Patriarch's instructions. Don't worry, you won't die or become disabled. The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched as he said in a low voice. Even if you die, I'll drag your soul back from Yudu. One of the people that injured me was a first-ranking high official of the Imperial Court. Heavenly King Lu regained his composure. I recognized his technique, which was Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation Technique. Among the first-ranking high officials, Sun Nantuo, the Grand Preceptor of the Crown Prince, has refined this technique to its extreme. Sitting on his 1,000-banner pagoda, his spirit treasure is unmovable. Qin Mu made swift moves, his hands dotting on Heavenly King Lu's body. His 10 fingers moved up and down, leaving after images. In an instant, he sealed Heavenly King Lu's soul in his body, preventing it from leaving. He used Heavenly Devil Creation Technique, which was used by the higher-ups in Heavenly Devil Cult to strip the skin and make clothing. However, in his hand, it was a life-saving method. Heavenly King Lu's 3 souls and 7 spirits were sealed, but it was still difficult for Qin Mu to stop the momentum of his soul dispersing. Cult Master, even though you're a divine physician, you won't be able to save a person that's going to die. Heavenly King Lu revealed a smile and got down from the bed with his trembling body. Once he sat down on the ground, a rosy color appeared on his face as he smiled. There's no need for you to waste your energy. My soul is going to disperse soon and my divine bridge is broken anyway. I can't endure it anymore. I thought I could assist Cult Master to help our sacred cult prosper after Patriarch had left, but never would I have thought that I wouldn't be able to see that day. Crumbling sounds came from his body. It was his divine bridge, divine treasure starting to crumble when its support was lost. The crumbling divine bridge, divine treasure crushed the life and death divine treasure, which crushed the celestial being divine treasure. The divine treasures crumbled one after another. Sorrow filled Qin Mu's heart. Now even the herb Sword Hall Master retrieved wouldn't be able to save him. Blazing flames burst out of Heavenly King Lu's body. His soul was shredded, and this kind of shred was irreversible. His injuries were too serious, especially those on his soul. It was on the verge of dispersing. If his soul dispersed, he wouldn't be able to enter Yudu. He couldn't even become a ghost then. The blazing sacred fire, incinerate my broken body. Heavenly King Lu muttered in the blazing fire. Life and death are impermanent, and partings are inevitable. I won't be able to see you become the sacred teacher. How I wish to return to Saint Arrival Mountain to see the sacred teacher tree. I can almost hear the woodcutter cutting into its wood. That elder shuddered in the fire, then revealed a smile. Cult Master, I'm very cold. Qin Mu stretched his palm out, wanting to grab the elder's hand, but all he grabbed was ashes. The blazing fire dissipated, and all it left behind were gray-white ashes. The sound of Sword Hall Master's footsteps came from outside, and he rushed in while carrying big and small packages of herbs. Qin Mu turned around and said with a stupefied expression, Sword Hall, there's no need for them anymore. Heavenly King Lu has already gone to heaven. The packages of herbs dropped to the ground from Sword Hall Master's hands. This 9 feet burly man knelt down on the ground and bowed deeply. His shoulders trembled continuously, but no cries came out. After some time, Qin Mu swept Heavenly King Lu's ashes up and placed them into a green jar, then stood in a daze in front of it. He had been pushed into his current position out of nowhere, sold by Granny C to Heavenly Devil Cult, and still muddle-headed became the cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult. He didn't have much sentiments with Heavenly Devil Cult, only with Granny C and the young Patriarch. However, as he learned more and more about Heavenly Devil Cult, He gradually fell in love with the cult's doctrine and the interesting people in the cult. He admired their conduct and way of handling things. He already treated himself as one of the members of Heavenly Devil Cult, trying his best to become a qualified sacred cult master. Qing Mu hadn't spent much time with Heavenly Devil Lu. The other had treated him less like the sacred cult master and more like a mischievous disciple, cleaning up the mess he had left behind in Saint Arrival Mountain. The old man was like an elder who doted on the younger generation, having eyes full of admiration. And now he had died, become a pile of ashes in the green jar. Sword Hall, a trace of sharpness appeared in Qin Mu's blank gaze, and he said slowly, "Order the disciples to gather all the resources and investigate. I want all the information available on Sun Nantuo, the Grand Preceptor of the Crown Prince. His entire life, his family, his sect, his disciples, everything about him." Sword Hall Master rose. "As Cult Master's commands," Qin Mu continued. "Bring Heavenly King Lu back as well. He wants to return to the side of the sacred teacher tree. You shall bury him there." Sword Hall Master brought the green jar away. Qin Mu walked out of Sword Hall's residence and found Si Yinxian, who had returned from the floor of Heavenly Record to take back his book tablet. He then headed to the floor of Heavenly Record. There, he came to the third level where there were not many classics. There were only 100 scrolls in this place, and many white-haired secretaries were researching all kinds of techniques to push out old ideas and bring in new ones. Qin Mu found Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation Technique and studied it carefully. He didn't sleep or rest, but studied for 2 days straight. He then walked out of floor of Heavenly Records, returning to his residence to sleep. The next day, Sword Hall Master brought a thick dossier over. Qin Mu read through it while paying attention to every detail, spending half a day to look through everything gathered on Sun Nantuo. He then closed his eyes. Sword Hall Master had waited beside him quietly through it all, and after some time, Qin Mu opened his eyes and said, "Nantuo Monastery, Sun Nantuo, Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation Technique. The impact would be too huge if we eliminated his whole family in the capital city, so we'll do it outside. Sword Hall, inform the 12 cult protector elders and the 8 supervisors of our sacred cult to wait beside Mud River outside the capital city." Qin Mu closed up the dossier and handed what he learned from Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation Technique to Sword Hall Master. "I had researched Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation Technique to find its weakness and recorded it down here. Let them have a look. All of the Hall Masters shall stay put for now and wait for my arrangements." Sword Hall received his command and rose to leave. Qin Mu called Hu Linger and the Dragon Qilin over and instructed them to stay in Imperial College for the next few days. He then went to the end of the alley in Scholar's residence and found Wei Yong. "Brother Wei, is Duke Wei back?" Wei Yong said. "He just returned a few days ago from quelling the rebellion. Can I trouble Brother Wei to go home and tell Duke Wei that there's going to be something fun to see at Nantuo Monastery?" Wei Yong was puzzled, but he still smiled. "Even though my old father likes to join in on the fun, he doesn't join just any fun. If the situation isn't large enough, he will definitely not go. After all, his chatter reaches the ears of everyone in the capital." "What exactly is it?" Qin Mu said. "Just tell him, you will know once you get there." Bewildered, Wei Yong went down the mountain with him. They parted ways later, and Qin Mu came to Rain Listening Pavilion in Flower Alley. Fu Qingyan welcomed him in a hurry and said, "Cult Master." Qin Mu raised his hand and signaled for her not to say any more. Suddenly, cracking sounds exploded from his body as his bones shifted their locations. He became taller and taller, turning into a tall yet lean man. He looked like a barbarian from beyond the Great Wall. Fu Qingyan jumped in shock. "Creation technique? I wonder which writing is it from among the 7 writings?" A faint golden glow radiated off Qin Mu's body. He changed into a robe that was rougher made and took out the 1,000 Banners Pagoda from his Taohai sack. He lifted the 1,000 Banners Pagoda, which was about 3 yards tall, and it spun continuously, giving off clanking sounds. A Buddha voice could be faintly heard coming out from inside it. "Hall Master Fu, stay here and don't make a move. Wait for my instructions." Qin Mu dragged out the 1,000 Banners Pagoda after himself as he left Rain Listening Pavilion. He walked out of Flower Alley and headed towards Nantuo's side palace. This place was the Crown Prince's Grand Preceptor's manor. Nantuo Monastery was one of the sects which were only inferior to Great Thunderclap Monastery in the Buddhism path. After Sun Nantuo acknowledged allegiance to the imperial court, Nantuo Monastery had become one of the big sects under the imperial court. Sun Nantuo had deep attainment in Buddhist skills and was an upright person. He hated evil with a passion and was known as an Arhat. Once he became the Grand Preceptor of the Crown Prince, and had Nantuo Monastery submit to the imperial court, the other monasteries on the path of Buddhism also had to submit. Due to this, his contributions couldn't be denied. After Sun Nantuo had changed the name of Crown Prince's Grand Preceptor's Manor to Nantuo Side Palace, this place became the main preaching grounds of Nantuo Monastery. There were many young monks from Nantuo Monastery that came here listen to lectures. There were also some women from the kings, dukes, and ministers' families that had the hearts that worshipped Buddhism. They would come to listen to lectures from time to time. However, these women were usually painstakingly lonely, and some of them came with impure intentions, hooking up with the young monks in the name of worshipping the Buddha to relieve their loneliness. There were even aging women who would raise a few young monks, which resulted in those monks entering and leaving their chambers. This was something that was a common occurrence in the capital. Some old monks even kept a few young women working hard round the clock to make music, causing quite a controversy. Even though Sun Nantuo knew his subordinates were a little dirty, he was too busy with official work and duties and had no time to discipline them. In addition to that, the social customs in the capital were much more open and the women here were more daring. Even the Empress Dowager in the palace had a lover, so Sun Nantuo had no interest to get involved with his folk. The emperor had bestowed marriage to Sun Nantuo repeatedly, which he had rejected 3 times in a row. However, he accepted it on the 4th, so he was considered half a monk and half a secular person. Therefore, it wasn't good for him to condemn his disciples' common practice. Nantuo Side Palace always had repulsive stuff happening, and Sun Nantuo always turned a blind eye to it. However, he still hated evil with a passion and didn't bother to hide his displeasure towards the officials coming from the devil path, scolding them in the imperial court. On this day, a commotion rose up outside of Nantuo Monastery. The monks there ran out one after another, and there were also quite a number of disciples that had ran out as well while shouting, "There's someone outside selling an important treasure of Buddhism! 1,000 Banners Pagoda, a complimentary treasure to our Nantuo Monastery's spirit treasure unmovable meditation technique. It's our legacy treasure that was lost a few hundred years ago." Everyone came out of the side palace and indeed saw the lost legacy treasure of Nantuo Monastery, 1,000 Banners Pagoda. Many monks crowded the area, blocking off the whole street. There were also some women squeezed among them. A pagoda towered among the crowd, and it was formed by 1,000 banners. Each and every one of them was sculpted out from jade and split into 7 levels. Each level had circular cylinders that were carved with scriptures. These cylinders could revolve, and when they turned, the scriptures on them would glow and give off Buddha voice. Inside each scripture banner, there were treasures like colored glaze, jade necklace, saraira, lamps, topaz, and agate. Thousands of banners piled up together to form a tower. This was the legacy treasure of Nantuo Monastery, Pagoda of 1,000 Banners, which was also known as 1,000 Banners Pagoda. This treasure had been long lost in some scuffle, and never did the monks had expected it to resurface once again. Each and every one of them in Nantuo Monastery was red with envy and didn't want anything more than to snatch the pagoda back. However, this was the capital city, so they couldn't make their move recklessly. The one selling this 1,000-banner pagoda was a young man that had an appearance of someone from a different race. He was standing under the pagoda, activating it. The 1,000 Banners Pagoda was originally not tall, each banner only 3 inches in height. However, when it was activated by this young man, each banner became 3 yards long, causing the 1,000 Banners Pagoda to reach an astonishing height of 200 yards. As the 1,000 cylinders rotated, scriptures continuously glowed while a powerful Buddha voice spoke, creating a magnificent sight. The barbarian's voice was resounding. "My humble self has an important treasure handed down in my family, and will give it to a fated person. I'm from the prairie beyond the Great Wall, a shaman of Roland's Golden Palace. This treasure was handed down to me by my ancestor who had rescued an old monk and received it as a gift from him. Coming to Eternal Peace Empire this time, I would like to meet the heroes of this empire and find a fated person for this treasure. Senior Brother Yuan Jing, is this not the legacy treasure of our Nantuo Monastery?" One monk whispered to another one beside him, who had delicate features. Even though Senior Brother Yuan Jing wasn't that old, he was still the direct disciple of Sun Nantuo and had a high position. Cultivating with Sun Nantuo for so many years, he was extremely familiar with the history of Nantuo Monastery, and nodded. "This is indeed the legacy treasure of our Nantuo Monastery, 1,000 Banners Pagoda. The scriptures carved on it are the Arhat Nantuo scriptures with the blessing of the leaders of the past generations. It can't be faked. Monk Yuan Jing's gaze wavered, and he suddenly shouted out loudly, "You barbarian, this is the treasure of our Nantuo monastery, quickly return it to us." Qin Mu took a look at him and said, "Monk, this treasure was given to my family by a senior monk, and since it was given to my family, it is mine. My treasure will only be given to a fated person." Suddenly, another young monk laughed. "How can one be considered to be fated?" Monk Yuan Jing looked towards him and was astonished. This monk also had delicate features and was the other disciple of Sun Nantuo, Monk Yuan Feng. The two of them had already had a dispute with each other by fighting over a woman, and a few more times for other reasons in the dark. On the outside, they might look polite and amiable, but they had fallen out with each other long ago. It was obvious that Monk Yuan Feng had planned to get this 1,000 banners pagoda from the hands of this barbarian and do a great deed in front of Sun Nantuo, receiving Sun Nantuo's attention and becoming the teacher's pet, squeezing him aside. Qin Mu placed down the 1,000 banners pagoda and said solemnly, "My humble self is from beyond the Great Wall, and when I saw the magnificent state of the empire, admiration bloomed in my heart, and I was certain that this place derives its glory from its illustrious heroes. This 1,000 banners pagoda is not an ordinary object, and my humble self is willing to use it to meet the heroes of this empire. If anyone that is on the same realm as me can defeat me, I'll be willing to hand him this treasure." Wei Yong and Duke Wei had walked out of Duke's manor and come to Nantuo's side palace. Duke Wei took a look and shook his head with a smile. "What fun is there to see? Isn't it just a brat from Roland's golden palace seeking trouble with Nantuo monastery?" His voice was so loud that when he spoke, everyone in the next few streets could hear him clearly. The few streets were where all the kings, dukes, and ministers lived. When they heard Duke Wei's words, they all left all their manners and looked over, creating quite a commotion in a matter of seconds. The monks of Nantuo Monastery saw more and more people appearing, so it wasn't good for them to just snatch the treasure. A yellow-clothed monk smiled. "As long as we defeat you, we can take away the 1,000 banners pagoda?" Even though Duke Wei wasn't really excited, he still shouted out in a loud voice. "Baldy," he said, "on the same realm, you can't break the rules. Where's Sun Nantuo? His treasure has appeared, so which woman is he getting on now?" Wei Yong was bewildered and looked around, thinking to himself, "How did Brother Qin know there would be interesting things to see here?" "Where is he?" Qin Mu said. "As long as you win against my humble self, you can take away 1,000 banners pagoda. Even though the world beyond the Great Wall isn't as flourishing as your empire, our words hold enormous weight." The yellow monk was about to go forward when Monk Yuan Jing took a step before him and said with a smile, "I'll take the pagoda. Senior brother, this little monk is Yuan Jing, 5 Elements Realm. May I know who you are?" Qin Mu said solemnly. "Roland's Golden Palace, Pan Gong Tso, 5 Elements Realm." Monk Yuan Jing's vigor burst forth as he executed Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation technique. Rays shone brightly from his body, and a huge apparition of a Buddha appeared faintly behind him. The huge Buddha had 1,000 arms holding 1,000 treasures. There were colored glaze cups, jade lanterns, a bow, an arrow, a metal truncheon, a pestle, and all kinds of other treasures. The huge Buddha suddenly merged with Monk Yuan Jing and disappeared. Rays of treasure light shone off Monk Yuan Jing's body, and his hand formed a treasure mudra. With a step forward, the mudra on his hand turned into colored glaze mudra. His hand shone with the gloss of a colored glaze, and he smacked towards Qin Mu. This was the strong point of Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation technique. This Buddhist skill was known as 1,000 treasures, since those who cultivated this technique to the celestial being realm could form 1,000 treasures Buddha that had astonishing might. Those that had not yet cultivated to celestial being realm could transform the 1,000 treasures into 1,000 mudras, and each mudra was different from the rest, having different power and use. Even though Monk Yuan Jing was only in the 5 Elements realm, he had a dense cultivation and had learned over 100 types of mudras from the 1,000 mudras of Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation technique. In addition to that, this technique allowed one to cultivate the Arhat's body. With a body like diamond, the person's defense was so astonishing that no weapons would be able to penetrate it. With this mudra, rays of light burst forth from Monk Yuan Jing. In a radius of 10 yards around his palm, an area of colored glaze was formed. From the rays, Buddha voice could be heard, which was extraordinary. Qin Mu did not move from his spot. He suddenly raised his hand before lowering it, and with a loud boom, the colored glaze boundary, the Spirit Treasure Buddha, and the colored glazed madra were all scattered by his palm. A huge pit appeared in the ground, and Monk Yuan Jing had turned into a pile of mush inside it. All the monks jumped in shock while Duke Wei twirled his mustache in suspicion. Even though this barbarian's move is very brutish, his cultivation is irregularly strong. What is his name? Wei Yong immediately said. I think it was Pan Gong Tso. Duke Wei muttered to himself. This doesn't look right. This technique doesn't look like part of Grand Shaman Ruda scriptures. Could this Pan Gong Tso have changed the Grand Shaman Ruda scriptures? Duke Wei was puzzled and muttered. I've fought with experts from Roland's Golden Palace before, and their techniques required souls to cultivate. Even though their bodies were cultivated to a brilliant gold state, most of their techniques used souls as an offense method. Meanwhile, this young barbarian had instead walked the path of the corporeal body. His technique is also slightly different from Grand Shaman Ruda scriptures. It's a little too fierce. He was a first-ranking high official after all, someone on the cult master level. He could immediately see Qin Mu's extraordinary points. However, even with his extraordinary knowledge, he could only see that Qin Mu's Grand Shaman Ruda scriptures was similar yet different. He couldn't see that Qin Mu was actually using Heavenly God creation technique. Each and every one of the 7 writings of creation from great educational Heavenly Devil scriptures had their own unique points. Heavenly God creation technique was able to imitate other people's technique, and Granny C had exhibited this technique once before, turning into the Border Dragon City Lord Fuyundi, passing off a fake as genuine. Qin Mu killed Monk Yuan Jing with a single palm, and all the other monks around felt indignant at the injustice. Another monk stood out and said loudly, You took the legacy treasure of our Nantuo monastery and killed a person of our Nantuo monastery. Do you really think there's no one in our Nantuo monastery to match you? I, Yuan Shan, will face you. Qin Mu stretched his hand out and grabbed, his move giving off a crackling sound of thunder. Before Monk Yuan Shan could finish saying his words, he fell flat on the ground. His body was still alive and there were no wounds on him. His heart was still beating as well. A few of the monks immediately went forward and checked for his breathing. Monk Yuan Shan was still breathing, but his eyes were closed. There's no need to check, his soul has scattered, Qin Mu said. His soul was taken away by my humble self and extinguished. Didn't you say it was a test of strength? The bunch of monks shouted in fury. Why did you land a killing blow time and again? Qin Mu said indifferently. This is the rule beyond the Great Wall. As long as one makes a move, there is no life and death. I thought the people of Eternal Peace Empire were brave. It never crossed my mind that all of you had been pampered to the point where you were afraid of death. Seems like I was mistaken. I should put this 1,000 banners pagoda back into our Roland's Golden Palace. There's no one fated among all of you. Presumptuous! A monk shouted out angrily and swung his monk staff forward. It had 9 hoops with 9 treasures hanging on them. With a swing, a clanking that could shake a person's soul rang out. Qin Mu stood motionless and let the monk's staff hit his head. Only when it reached him did he grab the staff and pull it over forcefully. Both of the monk's hands turned bloody from getting scraped. Pshhh. Qin Mu threw the monk's staff back, and it pierced the other's heart, nailing the monk to the floor. Duke Wei shook his head. Monks of Nantuo Monastery only know how to eat and drink. They have lived like princes over these years, and the difference between them and him is too huge. None of them is his match on the same realm. The shaman spells of Roland's Golden Palace are bizarre. It's possible for them to destroy the opponent's soul, but something isn't right here. I've never seen his moves before. Could the Grand Shaman have created some new divine art? Wei Yong still couldn't find Qin Mu and thought to himself. He told me to come and look at something interesting, yet where is he hiding at? A few more middle-aged monks walked out of Nantuo Monastery with grim expressions. One of them said solemnly, Go to Supreme Court to report this and bring the authorities to arrest him. Another person shall go to Crown Prince Side Palace and invite the leader over. The eyes of the other monks lighted up, and they left in a hurry. Supreme Court was responsible for investigating, so there was no need for Nantuo Side Palace to fight to the death with Qin Mu. They only needed the authorities to come forward and throw him into the prison. This way the 1,000 Banners Pagoda would naturally return to Nantuo Monastery. Since Qin Mu had killed people in the capital city, it was natural for Supreme Court to come forth and investigate the event. Furthermore, there were also people of Nantuo Monastery in Supreme Court, which made things easier. A monk hurriedly ran into the Crown Prince Side Palace and shouted, Leader, this is bad. Someone has come to thrash our Nantuo Monastery. Sun Nantuo was like a huge Buddha sitting cross-legged. When he heard what the monk said, he opened his eyes and looked towards the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince was a middle-aged man and didn't look much younger than Emperor Yanfeng. He twirled his mustache around his finger and said with a smile, "Could it be the devils of Heavenly Devil Cult coming to seek revenge?" That monk shook his head. "It's not Heavenly Devil Cult, it's a disciple from Roland's golden palace called Pangongtso. He brought with him the legacy treasure of our Nantuo monastery which was lost a few hundred years ago, the Thousand Banners Pagoda. He said he would give it to a fated person. As long as we could win against him while being on the same realm as he would give the Thousand Banners Pagoda over. Our senior and junior brothers went forth to challenge him and were killed without any explanation. By now, he has killed many of our senior and junior brothers." Sun Nantuo's expression turned grim. "You guys don't cultivate Buddhist skills and are intoxicated by women and wine. It serves you right to have this defeat. However, Thousand Banners Pagoda is the legacy treasure of our Nantuo sect which was lost a few hundred years ago beyond the Great Wall, so we have to welcome the return of this treasure." The Crown Prince frowned slightly. "Grand Preceptor, Heavenly Devil Cult just lost 2 Heavenly Kings. With the attitude of the #1 sacred ground of the Devil Cult, they would definitely not let things be. Now that a disciple of Roland's Golden Palace has suddenly popped out, could it be a trap? I've heard that lying low for over 40 years, Heavenly Devil Cult has brought forth a new cult master, but we still don't know his background." Sun Nantuo rose and said indifferently, "Your Highness, your news is a little outdated. The background of the new cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult has already been spread. I have received news from Great Thunderclap Monastery that this new cult master is the Imperial Academician of Imperial College. His surname is Qin and his name is Mu, and he's an abandoned person from Great Ruins. Not long ago, His Majesty raised his official position, making him a 5th-ranking palace grandee. It's actually him." The Crown Prince rose and said in astonishment, "Even though the new cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult is young, there are still strong practitioners and wise people in the cult, so we can't let our guard down. Grand Preceptor, I didn't think you would still have contact with Great Thunderclap Monastery. Could you arrange for a meeting?" "This is simple," Sun Nantuo said while walking outside. "Old Rulai also wants to meet your Highness." The Crown Prince went after him, smiling. "I'll follow you to take a look at that Pangongtso. I shall see if he's from Roland's Golden Palace or from Heavenly Devil Cult." Not much later, the inquirers from Supreme Court hurried over. When they met Duke Wei, they immediately greeted him. Duke Wei saw Sun Nantuo and the Crown Prince walking over from the corners of his eyes and said in his loud voice, "The Emperor gave an order in the past that the Imperial Court will belong to the Imperial Court and the martial world will belong to the martial world. This is a grudge of the martial world, so there's no need for Supreme Court to meddle. Otherwise, with all the fighting in the martial world daily, could Supreme Court handle all of it? We'll see when an official of the Imperial Court dies. Lord Sun, your Highness, come join in the fun here." Sun Nantuo's expression sunk, while the Crown Prince smiled. "Grand Preceptor, it's best if we go over. If we don't, Duke Wei's loud mouth would blabber until the entire capital learned of it. Come to think of it, it's time to change that rule Father had set back then." The rule Duke Wei had mentioned was one that the Emperor had set with all the big sects back in the day. They had decided that the Imperial Court will belong to the Imperial Court, while the martial world will belong to the martial world, each not interfering with the other. Even though the monks of Nantuo Monastery were disciples of Crown Prince's Grand Preceptor Sun Nantuo, most of them didn't have an official position, so they could only be classified as people of the martial world. Sun Nantuo and the Crown Prince came to the side of Duke Wei and the rest. While they were talking, Qin Mu killed a couple more monks and sparked the fury of Nantuo's side palace. All of the monks were making a racket to gang up on him. The few middle-aged monks saw more and more people in the surroundings, and since they were afraid of throwing the name of Nantuo Monastery, they immediately shouted at the monks to keep silent. "Duke, your Highness, Lord Sun!" Duke Wei looked over and saw another old lord coming over with a smile. "So it's Lord Yen Jige. Lord Yen is currently quite a popular man, standing beside the Emperor and Empress Dowager." Lord Yen immediately said, "Duke Wei is joking. Lord Sun, what's the matter? Nantuo Monastery is in trouble. From the looks of it, that person is seeking revenge." Another few high officials of the Imperial Court walked over, and one of them said, "Nantuo Monastery has been criticized over the recent years for walking in and out of the courtyards of the women in the kings, dukes and ministers' families. There were complaints from numerous ministers, but it wasn't good for them to disclose it as it would affect their reputation. This time, I reckon they are all enjoying the commotion around here. Look, none of them are willing to get involved in it. Lord Sun is also here. They were all first and second ranking high officials in the imperial court, and had purposely acted as if they had not seen Sun Nantuo, not giving him a good look. Sun Nantuo remained unmoved as he looked at Qin Mu. Eternal Peace Crown Prince was also sizing Qin Mu up and trying to see the origin of his technique. Send a Divine Arts practitioner up with his 6 Directions Divine Treasure sealed. He will then unseal his 6 Directions Divine Treasure mid-fight and land a killing blow. We'll just kill him directly, a middle-aged monk said in a low voice. Yuan Kong, you shall go. We've already lost our face, so it'd make no difference if we lost slightly more. No matter what, we have to win the 1,000 Banners Pagoda back. Monk Yuan Kong acknowledged his words and sealed his 6 Directions Divine Treasure at once as he went down to challenge Qin Mu. His cultivation surpassed Monk Yuan Jing's by leaps and bounds. Standing straight, his body was like a 1,000-arms Buddha that had an unmovable body and flailing arms. It was a different approach, but equally marvelous compared to the 1,000-armed Buddha of Thunderclap 8 Strikes. Qin Mu went forward to attack and heard loud thunder. The two of them had punched forward at the same time, and gales burst forth violently around them, surging in all directions and rustling everyone's clothes. Cracking sounds exploded from Monk Yuan Jing's body as he collapsed stiffly onto the ground. All of his bones were shattered. He was killed before he could even unseal his 6 Directions Divine Treasure in time. Most of the monks of Nantuo Monastery stared in anger and wanted to chop Qin Mu into pieces by their shouts. However, they were all blocked by the middle-aged monk. Duke Wei clapped in admiration and shouted out loudly, "The Grand Shaman Ruda's scriptures of Roland's Golden Palace are so powerful! Another great monk is killed!" Sun Nantuo frowned slightly and said in a low voice, "This is Grand Shaman Ruda's scriptures?" He had never met any of the experts of Roland's Golden Palace before and never seen this kind of technique before. On the other hand, Duke Wei had gone to the west borders before and clashed with the shaman kings of Roland's Golden Palace. Eternal Peace Crown Prince pondered. "I've heard that the shamans of Roland's Golden Palace use their souls to cultivate, transforming themselves into half-humans and half-demons, having all kinds of transformations." As he was saying this, another monk of Nantuo Monastery went forward and unsealed the 6 Directions Divine Treasure straightaway, wanting to execute his divine arts. He took unfair advantage of Qin Mu by immediately closing in on him and placing a Madra on his chest. That monk of Nantuo Monastery opened his 6 Direction Divine Treasure, and his vigor increased exponentially as his divine art burst forth. He was even stronger than Yuan Kong and had cultivated over 400 treasures from the 1,000 Treasures and Spirit Treasure unmovable meditation technique. He had over 400 Madras, and he used them one after another. Instantly, the Buddha aura shone brightly with flowing colors. The monk looked like a Buddha who was angered while subduing demons and devils and received shouts of praise from the crowd. "Superb cultivation, Monk Yuan Yu!" a woman from some family exclaimed in admiration with a look of infatuation. While she was saying that, Qin Mu's body jolted, and he changed into the god transformation that had a bull's head, a human's body, and bull's hooves. His whole body shone with a brilliant golden luster as he stepped on 2 dragons. A bull's eyes appeared in the heart of his brows and a trail of flame shot out, slicing through Monk Yuan Yu's neck. Monk Yuan Yu could only feel himself flying backward. He looked over to see his body with an open neck spewing blood, no head in sight. His head flew to the bosom of the woman who looked infatuated, turning her complexion deathly pale as she screamed in astonishment before fainting. "Piak piak!" Qin Mu's tail swayed and smacked twice on his buttocks, instantly turning them red. Eternal Peace Crown Prince's gaze flickered, and he said, "It should be the Grand Shaman Ruda's scriptures of Roland's Golden Palace. However, why did he have to smack his own buttocks? Is this some bizarre spell from Roland's Golden Palace?" Duke Wei saw Qin Mu returning back to his normal form and was slightly bewildered. He looked towards the Imperial Preceptor's manor and thought to himself, "Imperial Preceptor, that cold fellow, seems to have cultivated a similar technique before. I remember seeing him exhibit such a form before. Weird. Imperial Preceptor, this old boy, actually didn't come out to see the commotion. Did he get drained dry by all those palace maids the Emperor rewarded him with? Pan Gong Tso is really a disciple of Roland's Golden Palace?" Sun Nantuo was a little hesitant. Roland's Golden Palace was the #1 sacred ground beyond the Great Wall, and people in it called themselves shamans. They cultivated evil spells and used souls to cultivate, reconstructing their bodies into a form that was neither human nor demon. What Qin Mu had executed just now was a god transformation. Among those who reached the Five Elements realm, there were few who managed to cultivate god transformations. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, this monster, still complained about Imperial College not teaching profound knowledge, but it wasn't because it didn't want to teach. It was because there were not many people among the directorates who could cultivate a god transformation of Five Elements realm. In addition to that, Qin Mu's god transformation was out of the ordinary to top it. Even Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had been astonished that it seemed that both his corporeal body and his vital chi transformed into those of a god, and there were even signs of his spirit and soul transforming. There was also a change to his aura that was very extraordinary. For example, a bullseye had grown at the heart of Qin Mu's brows when he used the flame god form earlier. A trail of flame had shot out from that eye and severed Monk Yuan Yu's head. This was a divine art that was formed by his corporeal body, vital chi, soul, and spirit transforming into those that were at the level of a god. Even if ordinary martial arts practitioners of Five Elements realm managed to cultivate their god transformations, they would be very different from Qin Mu's god transformation. Those people also wouldn't be able to execute such moves like what Qin Mu did. If even Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor didn't understand everything about this, then it was natural that Sun Nantuo, the Crown Prince, and the rest of the people around wouldn't be able to recognize it, either. They simply thought that it was the demon transformation of Roland's Golden Palace, and exclaimed in admiration at how powerful and bizarre Grand Shaman Ruda's scriptures was. "Lord Sun, a lot of your disciples were killed, won't you challenge him personally?" Duke Wei said while shaking his head. "You should challenge him personally and defeat this barbarian. Only then could the reputation of your Nantuo monastery be saved. The disciples of your Nantuo monastery are simply lacking. The guy just now had executed his divine art of the Six Directions realm, yet his head was still chopped off by an opponent of Five Elements realm. This is simply embarrassing." Sun Nantuo's gaze wavered, but he ignored the man. He knew that Duke Wei's mouth could swallow the entire sky, so if he replied to him, the other would definitely have a way to force him to challenge Qin Mu. But it was something he couldn't do at any cost. He had no certainty that he would win when fighting with the strength of the same realm. Even though he had cultivated the Thousand of Mudras and Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation technique to perfection, it was highly unlikely for Spirit Treasure Unmovable Meditation technique to defeat this barbarian. If he then executed his Six Directions realm, it would definitely not escape the eyes of Duke Wei, and if he started blabbering about it, that would be even more embarrassing. There was also no doubt that Duke Wei would blabber about it. Eternal Peace Crown Prince said in a low voice, "Grand Preceptor, I have a few good fighters with me, maybe they could help you defeat this barbarian." Sun Nantuo shook his head. "I'm thinking where the guardian of this barbarian is." "Guardian?" Eternal Peace Crown Prince was slightly stunned. Sun Nantuo looked around and said, "Your Highness might not know this, but everyone who blocks the gate needs a guardian by their side. This is to prevent them from getting assassinated. For example, when Dao Sek blocked the gate of Imperial College, Dan Yangzi was the guardian of Dozi. When Great Thunderclap Monastery blocked the gate of Imperial College, old monk Jingming was acting as the guardian of Fozi Foxian. For this barbarian to be so courageous, there definitely is a guardian from Roland's Golden Palace nearby. This person would definitely be an expert of the cult master level. Only when we find him and defeat him can we regain the face of my Nantuo monastery." He knew that with how he hated evil with a passion, he had offended numerous ministers daily. On top of that, with how the disciples of Nantuo's side palace practiced corrupted habits, many of the people in the city were waiting to see him make a fool of himself. If he wanted to quell this matter, the best choice was to find the troublemaker's guardian and kill him in a just and honorable manner. As for the youth's life and death, it wasn't his concern. Suddenly, Sun Nantuo walked over to the young man, and the monks of Nantuo Monastery couldn't help being surprised and delighted. They all made way for him. Qin Mu stood outside Nantuo's side palace, the corpses around him having already been dragged away. From the beginning to the end, over 10 monks had died at his hands, and the monks of Nantuo Monastery were staring at him in anger, yet they didn't dare to make a move. Once they noticed Sun Nantuo coming forward personally, anticipation grew in their hearts. Sun Nantuo raised his head and looked at the Thousand Banners Pagoda with a flickering gaze. Who gave you such guts to take the legacy treasure of our Nantuo monastery, which Roland's golden palace had stolen a few hundred years ago, to block the gate of our Nantuo monastery? Qin Mu shook his head. I have come forward this time to sell this treasure to a fated person and not to block the gate of your Nantuo monastery. If other people want to get this 1,000 banners pagoda, they can also come forth and challenge me. As long as they are fated, there's no harm in giving it to them. This great monk, if you have the ability, you can defeat me and take this 1,000 banners pagoda away. If you don't have the ability, don't bother me doing my business. Eternal Peace Crown Prince walked over with a smile. You said you want to sell this treasure. If you're selling it, there would definitely be a price. May I know how much you are selling it for? Qin Mu took a glance at him and said, Of course there is a price. The expressions of the monks of Nantuo Monastery froze as their hearts filled with madness. If they had known they could buy it, why would they have fought to the death with this barbarian? Eternal Peace Crown Prince's spirit was roused and he asked with a smile, What's the price? Just state any. There's nothing in this world I can't buy. Qin Mu's expression softened. The price isn't too expensive. 100 flying ships with apothecaries and medicine boys allocated within each one. In addition to that, I want 200 cloud chariots. There's no need for gold-armored strong men, since there are plenty of strong men in our Great Wall. Eternal Peace Crown Prince's expression sank. You're playing with me? The flying ships and cloud chariots were military armaments, important weapons of Eternal Peace Empire. They had been invented by Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor and a bunch of other strong practitioners. Cloud chariots were important weapons to attack the city, so if the flying ships and cloud chariots were sold to the Great Wall, this would be treason. Even if he was a crown prince, the emperor would still take his head, Qin Mu said indifferently. If the crown prince can't afford this price, then don't bother me doing my business. Eternal Peace Crown Prince's expression sank. I shall give this treasure to the fated one, Qin Mu said solemnly. Those who think they can defeat my humble self can come forth to try. My humble self will stay here for 3 days. If no one can win against my humble self in 3 days, my humble self will return to the Great Wall. 3 days? Sun Nantuo looked around and still couldn't find the guardian who was hiding in the shadows. He then thought to himself, with 3 days' time, I'll definitely find out where he is hiding. The monks of Nantuo Monastery didn't come forward to challenge, so Qin Mu sat down on the street quietly and waited. The people watching the commotion gradually dispersed. Most of the kings, dukes, and ministers left their servants to watch the situation. Duke Wei brought Wei Yong to Imperial Preceptor's manor and knocked on the door. Elder Fu walked out with a smile and asked, Duke, what's the matter? Where's Imperial Preceptor? Old Master has brought Madam out on a scenic tour. Duke Wei jumped in shock and stuttered. Madame? What madam? Duke Wei might not know, but after the Emperor rewarded Old Master with 100 palace maids, Old Master was very happy. The next day, he got along with one of the women and held a wedding on the very same day, sharing their nuptial cups. After waking up, Old Master left with Madam, so they are no longer in the capital city. Duke Wei trembled violently, while a weird expression came onto his face. He stuttered out again. Imperial Preceptor got married. He actually got married, this guy. I thought he didn't have any emotions, never would have I thought he would get married, this scoundrel. He didn't even tell me. Elder Fu smiled. Old Master said to keep everything simple, so he didn't even inform the Emperor. Duke Wei let out a light breath. Oh well, they are so poor I doubt they would even be able to hold a banquet. I will let my servants send a red packet and some gift boxes over. When did Imperial Preceptor say he will be back? Elder Fu shook his head. Duke Wei let out a sigh and muttered to himself. There's a problem with that barbarian, but since he's staying here for 3 days, there's no rush. I'll wait for Imperial Preceptor to be back. The night fell and all kinds of flower lanterns were lighted up in all parts of the capital city. The night markets were opened up, and the street gradually became bustling with activity. Duke Wei let Wei Yong inquire around, and he came back to say, because it is nearing New Year's, there's less than a month left. Most of the merchants in the city are selling New Year's goods. So I see. Let us father and son take a walk around. Old and young men walked around the night market and saw many young ladies from influential families walking out of their chambers. They were well dressed and carried a court fan. While they admired the flower lanterns, they would cover their faces upon seeing young men looking over. However, they would secretly size up those young men from behind their court fans. Wei Yong was from the old Wei family and didn't have much relation to Duke Wei. Only when he made a name for himself in Imperial College did he enter the other's eyes. As they walked around, Duke Wei gave him pointers for his cultivation. While speaking to each other, they walked past Nantuo's side palace, and Duke Wei was stunned when he didn't see Pan Gong Tso's figure outside. He only saw many monks coming out from Nantuo's side palace, and the one being surrounded was Sun Nantuo. Other than him, there were also other guardians and abbots of the side palace. A monk hurriedly said, "Leader, the barbarians secretly escaped under the cover of the night market. I've already sent a few senior and junior brothers after him. Crafty, this barbarian actually pulled a feint and made us think he would stay here for 3 days, so we didn't expect him to slip away on the night of the very same day. Those senior brothers that are following him will not let him escape." Sun Nantuo was expressionless. He told the monk to follow and hurried away while saying in a deep voice, "We'll make our move outside the city." Duke Wei's eyes lighted up, and he went forward with Wei Yong while smiling. "Sun Nantuo, this guy, seems sanctimonious, so I would never have expected him to be such a sinister and cunning person. If he killed that barbarian in the capital, people would be sure to criticize him. But if he made his move outside and got rid of the corpse, no one would know about it. Let us follow them and see how these monks murder and arson." Wei Yong followed after him, and thus the young and old men went after the strong practitioners of Nantuo Monastery out of the capital. There were monks squeezing out from the crowd from time to time to report the traces of Pan Gong Tso to Sun Nantuo. Gradually, they walked out of the city. There was also a night market outside the capital, and the lanterns there were brightly lit. The night market spanned for several miles, and there were people coming to and fro, making it extraordinarily bustling. Duke Wei brought Wei Yong and lingered behind the monks of Nantuo Monastery. They unknowingly walked for several miles, and there was actually still a night market here. Not only was it still around, but there was also a village and a wide wooden gate which was over a dozen yards wide. A red wooden sign was hung on that wooden gate. Duke Wei raised his head and looked at this red wooden sign. On it, there were 4 words: Teachings of Sacred Teacher. The corners of Duke Wei's eyes twitched, and he hesitated for a moment. Sun Nantuo had already walked into this village, and the lanterns here were brightly lit. There were iron wocks placed on the pillars, and inside them was concentrated kerosene that was crackling from the burning fire. There were all kinds of stalls in the village, and there was even a butcher's shop that slaughtered pigs and goats. Sounds of hawking rang in the bustling village, so everything seemed like an ordinary night market. "What's wrong, Duke?" Wei Yong was puzzled. "Teachings of Sacred Teacher, I have seen this phrase before." With a grim expression, Duke Wei said, "When the previous cult master of Heavenly Devil Cult, Li Tianqing, set out on a long journey and came to the side palace, he had hung this phrase outside his gate. Heavenly Devil Cult refers to their cult master as Sacred Teacher, which means that the Sacred Teacher is coming to teach them the people in the night market are from Heavenly Devil Cult." Duke Wei hesitated for a moment and walked in. Suddenly, a male and female elders walked out with a smile. "Duke, hold your step." Duke Wei was about to say something when an earth-shattering sound rang out. He hurriedly looked over and saw the peddlers, scholars, and beauties wandering around suddenly spring into action. All of the monks of Nantuo Monastery were assassinated by the peddlers and passers-by beside them. Their heads flew into the air, and blood painted the sky crimson. Once these people succeeded in their assassination, they retreated and moved back into the houses on both sides. In a blink of an eye, all the monks besides Sun Nantuo were left headless. Sun Nantuo shouted out, and the body of a 1,000-armed Buddha appeared. It was over 300 yards tall. With the Buddha aura shining brightly, the statue held 1,000 magical artifacts and looked awe-inspiring. At this moment, 20 elders came from all directions and pounced on Sun Nantuo. With a loud bang, the 1,000-armed Buddha was shattered into pieces. Duke Wei was left dazed as the night market regained its bustling activity. There were people moving the corpses away, while others were drawing the river water to wash the ground. Teachings of Sacred Teacher. Duke Wei remembered this phrase and shuddered. He immediately said, "Let's go and not see the true face of this devil cult master." Suddenly, Wei Yong waved toward the village with a smile. "Brother Qin, why are you here?"